I'm so obsessed with transformation and healing, and while I've combined these two healing methods on my channel, I did want to make this video to distinguish the two so you can figure out which one works for you. Today I got a good one. Hey y'all, it is the goddess aka Divinity's hottest, checking that and I hope you're having a divine day. I am a spiritual guidance teacher here to help you understand and understand who you are as a spiritual multidimensional being so you can live your best life. And today we have a good one, y'all. We have a good one. I'm so obsessed with transformation and healing, and while I've combined these two healing methods on my channel, I did want to make this video to distinguish the two so you can figure out which one works for you. However, if you need more support, definitely make sure you click that link in the description to figure out what services I have that call to your spirit and what you are looking for at this time. But without further ado, we're going to get right into the video because I know for a fact this is going to help you. Make sure that you leave a couple takeaways that you got from this session in the comments below. Let me know other things that you want to learn as well so I can make sure that I'm doing my due diligence and supporting you on your journey to healing and transformation into your highest self. I love you to life. Let's get right into the video, y'all. Is this thing on? She's giving to the girls. Okay, so I do have some notes today. So if I look down, charge it to my head, not to my heart, child. I'm trying to make sure I get all this information in for y'all. Today, I wanted to talk about two different methods for manifestation and ultimately transforming your life. But more so, we're going to gear this towards manifestation. I have noticed, even in my own healing journey and just, messages that Spirit has shown me and just understanding and living life from a more spiritual perspective, that there are two different methods to approach healing. So the first approach of healing is feeling, releasing, and reframing, which ultimately is embracing the story of your thoughts. And when you use this approach of healing, it's basically saying that you identify as the current person. Let's just give a scenario. So this person operates from lack. They don't believe that the world is abundant. They have a low sense of self-worth. They have a low sense of worthiness. They feel like they're not good enough. And you identify as that person. And so you are going to use this approach to feel, accept, release, and reframe in order to shift your identity from the person that you are currently being to a new person who is abundant, who knows that they are worthy, who knows that they are good enough, and who has a high self-esteem. That is going from shifting your identity from one version of yourself to another version of yourself. So in this process of emotional healing, first you go through a process of feeling your emotions. You allow yourself to feel what's going on, whether it's sadness, frustration, or fear, and then without trying to avoid it or suppress it, you give yourself permission to feel the depth of your emotions and the experiences that they create for you. Then you allow yourself to engage with the thought and the story. Like, I'm not good enough. I'm not worthy. I operate from lack. The universe does not support me. And then once you move from engaging with those thoughts, you then go into reframing the thought. The universe does support me. I am good enough. I am worthy, right? And then ultimately you create this new identity. So you are going through a process of emotional release and mental reframing, which helps us to transform our old identity into a new identity. That is typically the approach that most people take. That's also an approach that most psychologists and therapists benefit from because it keeps people in therapy, right? But, I don't want you to get too caught up in what I just said because they're both effective. They're just effective in different ways. So let's move on. Now, the second approach is operating as awareness, and this is more so detachment from your thoughts and your emotions. This is a more spiritual approach. For me in my personal journey, I have used these interchangeably. With my clients, we'll also use them interchangeably, but also depending on what kind of person they are, if they deal with things like control or attachment to outcomes, I most likely would use the second approach with them. But if they're somebody who has a lot of fears that are deeply ingrained to the essence of who they are or who they believe that they are, right? They have limiting beliefs, I would most likely use the first approach because I understand the effects that each has, even though they ultimately lead to you receiving your desires in the manifestation process. But we're going to get there. So let me continue what I was saying and not get off track. In the second scenario, which is basically operating as awareness, we use a more detached approach to our thoughts and emotions. And this means instead of engaging with our thoughts and emotions by feeling and reframing them, we step into a space of pure awareness. Because again, who we truly are is awareness. I have told you all before, if you do not understand that or do not know how that works, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe to this channel so I can keep you up to date with showing you how to align to your highest self. But back to our regularly scheduled program. This approach involves viewing our thoughts and emotions as separate from our true self, which is awareness, the observer of the entire life experience that we are having, because this is all an illusion. The 3D reality is simply an expression of who you are choosing to be. And at any moment you decide that you no longer want to experience your 3D reality, you can choose to be something else because you are ultimately the awareness that is observing all of it. Does that make sense? Let me know in the comments below if that makes sense. We take a step back from the emotion and the thought, and instead of identifying with them, we identify as the awareness, which simply just observes the thoughts and the emotions. And we see them as temporary experiences that are happening in our experience, but they are not who we are. This is so powerful. I cannot express, okay, how powerful this is. Because when you see the emotions and the thoughts that is something that is separate from who you are, they don't have the same impact or the effect on you. You no longer are resisting them. And whatever you don't resist cannot persist, because now you're not judging it. You're not making yourself wrong for feeling it or experiencing it. You're allowing it to simply be there. And when you understand that thoughts and emotions are simply just temporary experiences and there's nothing wrong, good or bad about them, they just are, now you are operating from an objective place, which also helps to call in your manifestations, but we'll get to that when we get to that. And then because we are not resisting them and we're allowing them to be there, they dissolve naturally. Okay. And I've tried both methods. I've paid attention to this in my process, not only to help me heal, but also be able to understand what my clients are experiencing as I help them to heal themselves. And it's so fascinating how this whole experience works. So this is important. I keep looking down at my notes, y'all, so just please forgive me. But I didn't want to miss anything because I tend to be all over the place, Gemini MC, like I am right now. So let's get back into the video. So because we didn't hold on to those thoughts and we didn't feed them our energy, we just simply observed them. This created space for us to allow them to pass through us without clinging on to our sense of self, right? So in the first scenario, you're changing your identity because you're identifying with the negative thoughts and emotions and shifting that to a person who has more positive thoughts and emotions. Okay, so we're going through an identity shift. The second approach, again, is simply identifying as who you truly are, which is a more spiritually based approach. And it's understanding that whether positive or negative, none of it is who you are, and you're allowing all of it to be okay and pass through. So in this scenario, we remained as the observer. And in this space, we did not feel the need. This is important. I need y'all to hear me when I say this. We did not feel the need to identify with the emotions or the beliefs. We were not engaging directly with our thoughts or emotions, and we were disidentified from it. We recognize ourselves as true awareness and observe the emotion without trying to change it, because it's not wrong to feel fear or anxiety or jealousy or whatever you feel. Okay, it's not wrong. We're not trying to change in the first approach, trying to change it from one thing to another. We're allowing it to be there in this second approach, which is a more spiritual approach, like I said. And then lastly, we created space between ourselves and the emotional experience, which allowed for it to release naturally without needing to process it or reframe it. Now, let's talk about the difference between those two approaches because they're very important. So even though both approaches are powerful, we have a feeling and reframing, which is the first scenario where we are embracing the old story. And this again involves engagement with the thoughts and the emotions. We feel the emotion, we identify the underlying thoughts, and then we actively work to change the thought and the emotional state. This approach is rooted in action. Okay, it's something you do. You are shifting from one identity to another. This is considered to be a proactive healing process, okay, when you are working to change an old belief to create a new identity. Now, in the second scenario, again, I'm just really recapping what I just went over. This one involves detachment from our thoughts and emotions, which we recognize are not who we are, and then we simply observe them without reacting to them or identifying with them, which this is a more passive approach. So the first one is more active. The second one is more passive, where you don't try to change the emotions, okay, or the thoughts. You simply allow them to be, which dissolves them naturally. So in this approach, the focus is on being the awareness that naturally observes rather than being involved with the thoughts and the emotions. So now, what is the benefit of each approach? The first approach helps you to reframe limiting patterns and beliefs, okay, because we are shifting from a person who has limiting beliefs to a person who they have abundance, okay? They operate from this place of worthiness. They have a better sense of self, etc., etc. It works well when you want to release old stories and replace them with empowering beliefs. And if you are somebody who is more action oriented, okay, this is going to require you to engage with your emotions and thoughts head on. Whereas when you are operating as awareness, this is a deeper, because it is spiritual, okay, everything starts on the spiritual plane before it can be manifested in the physical, a deeper approach to healing in the sense that you're letting go of the illusion of who you think that you are. As the awareness, we're not judging the positive version of ourselves or the negative version. We're just allowing all of it to be what it is and understanding that even in us allowing it to be that is not who we are. This approach helps us to detach from the idea that we are our thoughts and emotions, and also allows us to step into this place of inner peace peace and freedom. So again, no matter what goes on outside of you or what the thoughts or emotions are, you're not fazed by it because who you are is more expansive and bigger than your thoughts and emotions and experiences. This allows you to operate as your true self, which is just consciousness. It's just awareness, which is more passive and, in my opinion, often more liberating than the first option. But again, different options work for different people. So now what should you do? For myself personally, I use both methods interchangeably because I am on a spiritual journey of ascension, right? I also understand that there's a part of my human who has deep psychological wounds. And so I take an active approach in engaging with those emotions because I intend to shift my identity while also understanding that I am neither of the identities that I am shifting, okay? And this, not only engaging in this helps me to shift, but it also helps me to offer my clients different approaches as well, so I can fully understand the healing experience, no matter what spirit tells me is the best optimal approach for that client. Does that make sense? But for you personally, if you're somebody who has limiting belief patterns, you have these deep-seated fears, again, it is dependent on your belief system because you could have these deep-rooted fears but consider yourself to be a spiritual person, and if so, I would take the second approach. But if you're somebody who's not really into the spiritual aspect of things and you just want to shift your identity, I would use the first approach. If you're somebody who has attachment to outcomes, if you're somebody who likes to control situations, I would take the second approach, because when we identify as awareness, it helps with detachment to outcomes, okay? And it also allows us to transcend the ego, which is a spiritual experience. It is an ego death. It allows us to, let me make sure the mic on now. It allows us to die to who we think we are, which is the ego. And that is a spiritual, deep, transformative experience within itself. So it all depends on what your goals are. And if you work with me, that is something that we will pinpoint in the beginning. And Spirit is guiding me to give you the best option for your soul and the journey and the path that it is on at this time. If we combine both, we are combining mindfulness, which I cannot stress that enough, emotional awareness, and also self-compassion in a way that ultimately leads to deep emotional freedom and manifestation power. Because I really sat and I thought about this. I've seen people talk about both versions. And if you are somebody who's watching, you want to know, do both of these approaches assist in different outcomes as a healed person? The answer is yes. They both will help you to heal who you are. Because ultimately, whether you're shifting your identity from a lack mindset to an abundance mindset, or whatever you're shifting it from, or you're simply operating as awareness, you are releasing resistance. And that is the whole point of being able to manifest what you want, is releasing resistance so you can be the person who is capable of receiving what you're asking. I also want you to understand that both of these methods are not in competition with one another. It just depends on which approach you feel works the best for you. If you're wanting to, like I said, transform your self-concept, shift your limiting beliefs, this is the approach for you. If you want to release control, let go of attachment to outcomes, transcend your ego, the second approach is the approach for you. But again, like I said, I do use them interchangeably because I see the benefit in both of them, right? And because I have a diverse array of clients, I understand that not every approach is going to resonate with each person. And so I allow Spirit to guide me in deciphering which one is the best for that person and the journey that they are on. So how do these approaches help you with manifestation? This is why I gotta have notes, y'all, because I'm all over the place. Okay, I can't even talk. So the first method, it allows us to shift from a person who, for example, is in lack to abundance. So now they are in an energy where they are emitting a frequency of abundance and therefore attracting it to them. The second approach, when we transcend the ego altogether and we operate as awareness is inner peace and freedom continuously, right? Always in the present moment. And because a person operating as awareness has no need for anything, because they have no attachment to anything, we're not trying to control anything. We are not saying and sending out a frequency that we need to have something to the universe. And so because we are whole and complete, right, operating as our whole selves, which is what we truly are, we are sending out a frequency to the universe that we do not lack anything. And because we do not lack anything, now we attract everything. Because we don't lack anything. We're not attached to how things are going to come, when they're going to come, because we understand that we are already everything. And this not only helps us to manifest, but it helps us to cultivate a sense of very deep trust and surrender, which for me is something that money cannot buy. Okay. When you trust that everything is working out for you, when you don't have to worry about this or that, and you just completely surrender control. It's a magical experience and life just flows. You're constantly in the flow. And I'm not saying that you cannot be in flow when you're shifting your reality, but if you are not spiritually advanced and you don't even know what it means to operate as awareness, what it means to be awareness, the second approach is not for you. because you have to have a sense of understanding of who you are as a spiritual multidimensional being in the first place in order for that to even work for you. Again, I just wanted to offer these two different methods of healing because I see people talking about both of them, and I want you to understand that neither of them are wrong. One is not better than the other. I think it just depends on your personal belief system because, as you know, beliefs create reality. And it also depends on what you are looking to gain out of your experience of transformative healing. One is a more identity-based approach where you're shifting from one identity to another. Another one is a more spiritually based approach where you are operating as a true nature and coming from a place of wholeness and allowing both good and bad to be okay. And I think that even in my teachings on this channel, I combine the two, but I think it's important to separate them and show you the difference between the two, but how they both in their own essence contribute to manifestation. If you're interested in working with me, you can click on the link in the description box. I'll be more than happy to work with you. I have email options. I also have over the phone options, and I'm thinking about offering a spiritual guidance with tarot. If you're somebody who's interested in learning how to read tarot, I've read tarot for over 4 years. You can click on the link in the description as well, and I have an ultimate tarot guide. It includes over 50 pages for sure. I think it's 60 plus pages of information about tarot. I detail things that I've learned, downloads that I've received from Spirit that's going to help you on your journey, as well as a pre-recorded video. And I'm also going to add some worksheets in there as well for you to use. I am wishing you the absolute best on your healing journeys. Okay, you are doing amazing. Don't let anybody tell you what works for you. You have to use your own discernment to figure out what works the best for you. As your spiritual guide and teacher, I am not here to heal you. I cannot heal you, but I can give you the tools to heal yourself. My goal is to give you the tools to empower yourself to heal yourself, and I can guide you through that. That's why I'm here. So I love you to life. Like I said, I'm wishing you the absolute best on your healing journeys. If you are new to the tribe and you are feeling the vibe, do not hesitate to hit that subscribe button. This is the Goddess signing the F out, and I will talk to you soon.